Okay, here we are at the farm. Here's the cabin, which Jim and John and Dad built with a little bit of help from Mary and Frank and I in the early 70s. Dad and Mom bought this land when I just remember being in 5th grade. I don't know what year it was. And so first we had to get a trail built up to this land, and then we had the pond built, and then the cabin. So chinking between the logs, that's where we helped out, mixing that up. I remember spending the winter here, a weekend where it snowed a lot. It was very cold. We had a little stove inside, put so much wood in it, it was a red hot stove. And a lot of time on the porch here. The Lippincotts would come over and they would all sit around, and parents and the Lippincotts would sit on the porch and drink wine and talk about stuff, philosophize. When Frank and I were here in the summers, we would get certain projects. One of them was building the tool shed here. So after we built the cabin, we built the tool shed on the back here, hence the name tool shed. Gave us a little more room to put valuables away. Over there is the house that Mom and Dad had built, contracted out for their retirement. Unfortunately, Mom passed away in '86, so they didn't really get a chance to use it too much as a family. Dad got to use it for a few years before they moved to Kansas City. Him and Janice lived out here. Here's a pavilion. That's something that we built. I can remember when we built that exactly because it's 1976. We're being very patriotic because of 200 years. So, as you can maybe tell, I'll try to zoom in on it. Oh yes, there it is, the little American flag to help us all remember when it was built. But as you can tell, it's on its last legs. It's got kind of a lean to it. So if it makes it to next year, it'll be 30 years, and I think it'll fall down. So pretty good run though for a pavilion, 30 years, and a picnic table. Now over here, close to the pavilion, because you want to eat in the pavilion, but food comes in, goes out, we have our famous latrine. That was a duty I had every weekend, whether I liked it or not, was to dig a new post hole and move the latrine to the new post hole. And you might be able to make out, Mom was very artistic in her way, so you see little cats drawn on the outside there. But, you know, we helped fertilize the soil, I guess you could say. It was a smelly job, but someone had to do it. So that was one job I could handle, was digging post holes, so I got that job. Okay, so we're walking up away from the cabin. Now here is a lamb shed. For a few years, Dad was really into raising the lambs, rather than just buy them in the summer and slaughter them, and then in the fall, after they were raised, he started keeping them year round, a couple of them at least, to have new lambs. So we built lamb shed. Now if you notice, you know, the log cabin was done, you can't really see it from here, but English style, where the logs are horizontal. And we learned how to do it from a book called Foxfire. that Dad bought. And then for the lamb shed, logs are vertical, and we did it because it's more French style. French like their logs vertical, and I guess the English like their logs horizontal. I don't know if one's better than the other. I think probably English style is a little more sturdier. You're using more whole logs. Here you would use just half logs. You would split the logs in half. So that's what makes it a little lighter. So Frank and I did that one year. I think I have a feeling that I pretty much did the lamb shed, if memory serves. I think Frank was too old then. But over here is the barn, and that's something that Frank and I did together with Dad's help every weekend. We'd work during the week, and then he'd come out on the weekend. One of the purposes for Dad coming out on the weekend was because we needed water. So every weekend he would take a barrel home like that, 50 gallons of water, and bring us a new one. Unfortunately, these are barrels from some cookie company that I found, so they always have they always had raspberry flavored water. We were doing flavored water before they had flavored water in bottles, so we started that trend maybe. So here's the barn. It's got a little side room so guests could stay there. John and Paula and the boys would stay there a lot. I stayed a lot up in the loft. There's a little room up there, crazy room we call it, because there was a lot of screened in, and which was a good way to go. But we also had chickens here. Would raise the chickens, and then lambs also in back. You can't tell, but to get upstairs, got one of those pull down ladders, which was kind of neat. We had a talented dog, Artemis, who could run up and down those stairs. So this must have been done in '79 or so, is my guess. Okay, took a walk up the trail, up to the field. When Dad bought this land, it was like 30 acres. And this was the only spot that was cleared. It was a cornfield. We worked very hard to pull all the corn stalks out, and then the sheep would graze up here. We used to have more fences set up, and we had chickens, 30 chickens or so each summer. There's the chicken house that we built for them. And the chicken fertilizer, we would move the chicken yard around to try to get the ground to be more fertilized, because this is really bad ground up here. Red clay, not very good for growing. But Dad also had fruit trees, which some of them were over there. And then grapes, lots of grapes, because for a while there, Dad was good at making wine that he could make in the summer or the fall, and then drink it during the winter and the spring. So it was an ongoing process. So we raised the sheep. There used to be, like I said, we had different fields, and we would move the sheep from field to field to graze them, have them graze, fatten them up during the summer, and then take them to the slaughterhouse right around this time of year, Labor Day, before school started. So here's some of the grapevines. Now down there, I'm not going to walk down there, but down there is Never Again Pond, where Frank dug a pond. I think Dad paid him $50 or something, but hence the phrase Never Again, because it was a lot of work for Frank. And then also that big tree in the corner there, that one. When we first moved here, we called that Dead Man's Tree, because I think one of the collies or somebody, there was a deer stand up there, and he was up there waiting for deer, and somehow I think he dropped his gun, and the gun hit the ground and then fired, and killed them. So hence the name Dead Man's Tree. Now the other thing I'll mention about this field up here, now these trees you see are trees that we planted, and what they're meant to be is natural fence posts. I think it's pretty wild that they outlasted the fence, that's for sure. But anyway, now on the far side of the field there used to be sarsaparilla trees. I think there are still some. Those are those smaller trees there. Because my mom used to have me dig those up, the roots of them, and we would peel them and then boil them up and make sarsaparilla, which is almost like root beer. The Foxfire book provided hints on old-time stuff you could do, and so she would always pick out stuff for us to do. Now also back that way, I really can't see any right now, but there's some river birch, which I was always hoping, she was cremated, but I don't really know what Dad did with the ashes, but I'm hoping that Dad put the ashes back in the river birch, because I think that's what she wanted. Because she really loved this farm a lot. They spent a lot of time out here, because it reminded her a lot of Maine, which, if you ever go to Maine, central Maine, there's a lot of rolling hills. A while ago we went to a family reunion, and we went whitewater rafting before the reunion, and driving there I understood why it helped me understand why she liked this area in Missouri so much. Because it looked just like this. Now around here, I'm walking back towards the cabin, but it's kind of funny. What you're seeing here is the original campsite. Because it was right in this area where, when Dad first bought this acreage, we'd have to walk for it seemed like a mile, and I bet you it's pretty close to a mile from the road up to here, lugging the tent and sleeping bags and all the other stuff. And then we set up a campground. We were right on the edge of the field, and that's why we made it to this spot. That's why we made it our original campsite. And I remember getting the first tick. So the fun around the campfire was watching Dad try to burn the damn tick off of me. But then, we started making trails. That was the first task. And that was a lot of work, because if you think about it, we would cut trees down, and mostly with hand